All right, guys, we just got in here to pull cards. It is August 24th. It's just me today. Jase is heading back home to Indiana for a bachelor party. So I am on card pull duty, pulling all these cards after those dates that Drury talks about all the time, where big bucks come back to their fall ranges in August just to kind of check things out. So we're at a camera that we just hung probably a month ago. Jase and I were in here last week just to check cards, make sure the batteries were good. And we got a couple decent bucks on camera, and we actually spooked one out of his bed up the hill here. So we're gonna get this card pulled and get the heck out of here. I don't want to booger these deer up anymore, because with this spot on public, we don't really have much woods to work with, just with the private line on one side and then a big fallow field on the other. So they seem to really like this area. We'll see what we got on this one. All right, guys, we just got back over to the lakeside set here. Didn't really get to explain that set earlier. So that is on a different lake, actually. We got a bunch of Army Corps of Engineer lakes around us. That spot there, just a little stretch of woods in between the private line and a big fallow field. On the other side of the private line, it goes up a little hill to a bean field that probably about 5-6 weeks ago, Jason and I were driving by, and we saw a big group of bachelor bucks with a big, what I thought was a 12 point. Not gonna lie, I peeked at the SD card from that camera and we got the majority of that bachelor group on camera, including that big 12 point. We're here now at the power line set over on a different lake. Last week we were in here swapping out batteries, just making sure everything was good. We ended up taking down the buck bedding camera just because it was all does and a boatload of sun flares on it. And we have that render on the scrape 100 yards from it. So we're gonna check this, and I think we're gonna leave the doe bedding one alone, just because I looked through it last time we were in here last week and it's all does still and a couple little 4 points. We're gonna duck back in here and go check it out. All right, guys, it is August 25th. We are back down in hill country. This is the one I have been excited to come check. We are at the saddle scrape here, just above it, up on this oak flat again, and there is already acorns on the ground, fresh ones. So looks like the squirrels have been putting in some overtime, knocking all these down. Hopefully we can get something with some antlers on this one. Last card pull was just a bunch of fawns and does, but that scrape was still wide open. So we're gonna duck down over here and see what we got. Just got done swapping out cards here. We had it on hybrid mode, so it was taking 2 pictures and a 20-second video, and I think we had over 100 files. So just a quick scan through it. We did have a couple bucks come by and hit this. Can't tell what they were, mainly because the spider decided to make its web right over top of the camera lens. So gonna pack up here. We're gonna head to the Beaver Pond set next, which that's the one I'm excited for. Just got to the Beaver Pond set. Came up through the swamp because there's not as much water in it this time, and holy shit, is there a lot of tracks in there. It looked like a major freaking highway, even worse than before, so I'm hopeful for this one. We're gonna climb up here, swap out cars, probably swap out batteries. It's probably gonna be a while till we get back down here, so we'll see what we get. All right, guys, well, made it up to the swamp camera here. We had 1,558 pictures and videos because we had it on hybrid mode, but someone got into this camera and flipped the SD card and jammed it in backwards. I just spent 5 minutes with my pair of Leathermans trying to get it out. So flipped the card back in there, and once you know it, the people that were messing with it are on camera walking in and out of this spot. There's a beaver pond right up the hill here. People fish it, but I mean, come on. Like, why do you got to mess with other people's stuff? Like, I'll blur out your faces, obviously, but yeah, I'm going to put you on blast. People just never cease to amaze me. You can't just leave other people's stuff alone on public land. Like, come on. Really, guys? All right. We're at the bean field. Now that I've cooled off a little bit, 'cause not gonna lie, I was a little heated there. We'll go into depth about the guy messing with my camera later once we get back to the office, because I'm still pretty heated. As you can see, the beans are super tall already. The state did a real good job with these. Haven't seen any deer yet, but we'll see what's up here. Go pull this card, hopefully get in and out of here as quick as possible. All right, guys, we're back in the studio here. We got another stack of cards here to go through. This card pull definitely a lot better than the first one. You know, obviously that July-August time frame, those bucks are gonna start putting on a lot more inches. So we're gonna start off here with the lake set, the power line set here. Had a couple bucks on it last time. We'll see if they grew or if anything showed up. I went through all of these cards last night and got rid of all like the false triggers or the sun flares, so should speed up the process a little more. All right, and here we go. There I am, July 6th. July 7th, very next night, we had this little, I think it's a spike, come through. And his buddy, the little 8-point, following him. Yeah, he's still forming points. This is July 10th. You can see the start of his 2s and 3s. Not a very old deer, though. There he is again. There he is again. That's a pretty one. Another buck moving through the brush. Can't tell what it is. That's at 8. So we figured out at this spot, too, that on top of the trail coming out into this little fallow field there, the reason why they're cutting up through that thick stuff is because at the end of that thick patch where it meets the power line, there's an apple tree that they're coming right out underneath of. I would assume there's probably going to be a scrape there. There's a boatload of apples on it, so it'd be a good spot to keep in mind for later on in the fall once those apples start dropping. There he is working a licking branch. He's got some potential if he's only a 2.5-year-old. We'll see if he survives Ohio's gun season on public land, though. Yeah, those are some 4s poking out there. Be a little 10-point. There he is again. Almost looks like he has a little bit of palmation on the right side. It's hard to tell with velvet. Velvet always makes them look bigger than they actually are. A little early to be duking it out, guys. If he survives, he'll be a nice one to watch in the upcoming years. Mr. Wile E. Coyote. Chasing something. You can see the weeds move. And then here he comes bounding by. We gotta angle this camera down just a little bit more, which I did when I went and pulled this card. And there's Jase on the 16th. So we went out and swapped out batteries on most of our cameras before that weekend in August, the 18th through the 21st, where Mark Drury talks about those dates where typically he sees his mature bucks circle back to their fall range just for a couple days just to check it out. So we'll move on to part 2 here. Little buck. Little buck. And that's it. All right. Well, we got one buck that's bigger than a 4-point. Still pretty young deer. Still kind of hopeful for that spot. There's a refuge pretty close to there. So, I mean, come November, you never know what you're going to find there. Now, to the big boys. So, this spot here, Jase and I actually found this spot, well, this group, I'll say. We were driving around glassing bean fields, and we came across this bean field that had like 10 bucks in it, and a couple of them were pretty dang nice for middle of July. So, turns out the private field they were in was only about 400 yards from the public line. So we went out, scouted it, hung a couple cameras, and this is what we got on camera there. All right, so July 25th, we hung this camera. As you can see with this one, we're in kind of a wooded spot here. It's not like too terribly thick, but it's on the edge of a fallow field. About 100 yards behind the camera is the line for private, and then it kind of goes uphill into the bean field. I say the turn uphill, relatively loosely. I think it's like 100-foot change of elevation, if that. But it's a good spot. There's a lot of tracks going through there, a lot of big buck tracks. And as you can see here, this little opening, they're just kind of cutting right through there. As you'll see as we go on, they're kind of cutting all through there. On the other side of this fallow field is an old timber cut. We walked through there, we stuck a render down in there, and we've got a couple bucks on camera down in there. Nothing too, spectacular yet, outside of... So we actually did have a nice 10-point show up on that render on August 22nd. Of course, he only put his head into the one corner of the frame and then moved off outside of the camera's view. As you'll see when we go through these pictures here, he's not the biggest one that we have in this spot. So let's get started on it. All right, 7:25, we put this camera up, and 7:27, wouldn't you know it, there's one buck there. Nice 10-point. Can't tell what that is there though. All right, so 7:48 p.m., 62 degrees, so a lot cooler than what it typically was right around that time frame. We had a stretch of a couple days where lows got down into the 60s and even into the 50s. You can see that coyote right there, and then if you look out towards that fallow field, you can see another set of eyes. So I wonder if that's that doe or no, it's another. Looks like another coyote coming up the trail there. Another doe and a fawn trotting through there. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. This spot here is kind of an overlooked spot. You know, a lot of people would drive right past this to keep going down the road to a couple of the other major parking spots. So this next series here, as you can see, there's a hand with a ring on it at 8:09 p.m. 8:08:55, something triggers the camera. The video is supposed to last 15 seconds, it only runs 3 seconds. And then here, you can hear something brushing against the camera. So yet another camera that somebody on public messed with. At least this one seems like they just turned it off, couldn't figure it out, so they turned it back on and walked away. So another Yodi. And there's a rack. All right, there's one of the big 10 points. Got no brow tines though. Looks like a younger deer. Kind of hard to tell from this angle, but still a pretty solid deer. Just heading out in that fallow field. 12:11 in the afternoon. Middle, well, still 59 degrees in there, so I don't know. No rhyme or reason for that one. Ooh, there's something over there. So 8:13. So 5:37 in the afternoon. It's already dropping down to 57 degrees. Got a different buck here, it kind of looks like. It's hard to tell. Oh, missed him. Must have been just on the edge of range there. There's a rack. Oh, come on, stick your head up. When I went and checked this camera before the 18th, I did notice there's a lot of tracks right underneath it. So that coupled with someone messing with it, we moved it, kind of moved it up the hill a little bit, moved it up higher. All right, part 2. This is where it gets interesting. There's Jase. I don't know what he's doing there. All right, and that's us leaving there at 6:38 on 8/16. Nothing until the very next day. Looks like another doe or something hauling down through there. Now we get into the bucks. All right, 8:19, 6:51 in the morning. So you can see here that temp really dropped down in there. 46 degrees. So we got 2 bucks there. Smaller 8, and I think that's that same 10. Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Doesn't have any brow tines. Decent deer, that's for sure. It's hard to tell when you get that top-down angle of deer just how big they are. All right, another forky. Oh. This is why you should always watch through the entire clip on your trail camera videos. I saw this forky when I was going through this card earlier, just skipped it. But at the end here, oh wow. That's a nice deer there. Man, look at his brow tines. Got some funkiness going on there, and his G2s and G3s are just tall. Whew. That's a nice deer there. And of course, there's that 10 point again. Actually, that's a different 10 point. Got a little split on his brow tine there. All right, here comes the big dog. So this guy here we saw from the road, and he was just big. Looks like a freaking cow with antlers, that's for sure. He's mainframe 10, and he's got a little kicker coming off the one brow tine there. You can see it right there. He is just big. I would shoot him in a heartbeat. Alright, so that makes the third buck on this camera that has had a split coming off the right brow tine. So, must be a genetic thing in that area. Another little 8 point there. That's a real young deer. He's already an 8. The first spot that we hung this camera, it's actually to the right on the frame here, was facing downhill, so we moved it over to the left and kind of angled it a little more to catch this trail that they're kind of paralleling the fallow field with, and to catch the trail going perpendicular down across the field. More turkeys. Rubbing salt in the wound there. And that's it. That's when I went and pulled the card. So overall, that spot, heck of a lot better. I'm glad that we decided to drive that way the one night to kind of look for deer, because I would like to think we have that spot dialed in. When Jase and I were going to check cameras there the first time on the 16th, we actually bumped a couple deer that were bedded across the line on private right at the base of the hill. And I didn't have a good angle, but Jase had a good look at the one, and I think it was either that real big 10 with the big kicker or that smaller 10 that has the swooping beams with that small kicker. So all he said is that he just saw a big frame running up the hill. That spot there is going to be a little tough to hunt, though. We went in and wind mapped it. So with the predominant winds in that area being southwest, that wind's going to be coming down over the hill into public. So you have like a 200-yard stretch of woods. You got a field up top, field down below. You have wind coming down over the top. So with the thermals in the morning, that's just going to be tumbling all over the place in there. Those thermals are going to want to pull out to the fields there. That wind's going to be coming down over. It's just going to be tumbling all over the place. So we're going to try and maybe put a sit opening day further like across the fallow field into the old cut where we have that render at. We just got to do a little more digging in that area to figure out exactly what path they're coming down into there, because it seems like there's no real like set pattern of they're taking this exact path up out of there. It just kind of seems random. Sitting in that clear cut, well, that old cut, I guess, it's still, you still got a lot of good trees in there. Technically it's a select cut, it's just a little thicker. I like my chances better in there with the wind. If it's anything from southwest to northwest, or even a directly south wind, we should be able to get a good set in there opening morning. I don't want to go in where this camera's at and try and put a set in there, because I just got a feeling that we're going to get busted in there with how much those thermals are tumbling. So on to the next one here. All right, that wraps up all the lake sets. Now we're moving on to hill country. We'll start again with the saddle scrape here. This one still didn't exactly have high hopes for just yet. We did have a couple bucks on it. We also had a spider that decided to make a web off of the camera over to the next tree, and he actually decided to make the web across the camera. So half the pictures on this one unfortunately had a bug that he caught in his web right smack in the middle of the lens. So didn't really get too much data off of it, but we did get a couple bucks that moved through there. All right. So this is right after we went and swapped it out. Had a doe come through. So you can see there's the spider. God, does that suck. Something moving through there. And you can see the spider crawling around right in front of the lens. Some more turkeys there. That one's got a decent beard, it looks like. It's hard to tell what this is, but it looks like a decent buck. It's pretty tall. He's an 8-pointer for sure. Just can't tell what's going on with those brow tines. Again, there's a spider web over top of the lens, so it kind of makes it hard to see. Is this him again? It's a smaller one. Still the same type of genetics though, high and tight. That was August 13th there that those two came through. Another doe. Little spike. A little buck of some type. I can't tell exactly what he is though. Another Yodi. And that was it. So we had a lot more pictures on that camera of the spider, unfortunately. So we cleaned that off. I sprayed permethrin all around the camera on the tree. I guess now we're just gonna have to douse the entire camera in permethrin. Oh man. All right, moving on. So the next one, this is the bean field set. Walking through those beans yesterday pulling cards, they were big, tall, and luscious. There was tracks everywhere. Didn't see any deer though, so I take it there's probably been a decent amount of people in that parking lot kind of checking things out. You'll see on this lift 2 here that the majority of the buck pictures are at night. So that kind of tells me that they have been getting a little bit of pressure there. All right, we'll go to the lift 2 here. Jase sneezing his head off again. All right, same evening we left. I forgot to set the date on this. And that's Ivan. Look at that big old split brow. Brow tine's almost taller than his G2s. And he's gonna make it hard for me to pass on him if he walks in front of me. Looks like he got some junk starting to form at his bases too. There's a better look. Man, that brow tine is ridiculous. Yeah, he's gonna make it awfully hard. So if you notice here, he sees the camera, goes right over to where we walked. He's sniffing that log. We must have brushed against it when we were walking up and over it. Yep, and he decides, nope, I'm not going that way. Another Yodi coming through. Spike. Another frickin' spider. This was one of my favorite clips here. It's an interesting way to scratch your back, I guess, but hey, whatever works. Forky. Another forky. Another forky. Another coyote. Something. Looks like a little 8 or something like that. A little 5-point. 5. 5. Something else cutting down through. Looks like a little 6 or an 8 there. A little 8. 8-point. Doe. A little 3 or 4-point there. Forky, forky, forky. Ooh, that's something a little bigger. Another little 8. Ooh. There we go. There's a decent rack finally. A little 8. Another 8. Another 8. Oh, 4, 5. Forky, forky. There's that same frame. I can tell what he is. Ooh, it's a decent frame there. That's that same deer. He has those staggered brow tines there. There's a better look at him. Decent deer. There he is. Fork. There he is again. Oh, come on, stick your head up right in front of the camera. There we go. That's a better look. Got some weirdness going on. Ooh, there's a point ducking inside. Huh, that's pretty neat. So he's got that point ducking inside on his left G3. His left G2's got a curve to it. He's got staggered brows. Looks like might be trying to form a G4 on that right side. Just a teeny tiny little bump there. Unique looking deer. I don't think he's very old at all. Another high and tight buck. And of course, now he's just showing off. No, that's a different deer. Or no, I think that's the same one there. Hard to tell. Forky. There he is again. He's using that area a good amount. Big old 6-point there, looks like. Alright, so there's the goofy one up top, and that's just a 7-point, looks like. Stagger brow tines again. There he is again. I gotta come up with a good name for him. Seems like he's around a lot. Different 8-point. Another different 8-point. Just a nice 2.5-year-old. There's that 7. Alright, get out of the way. Where's the big boys at? Man, is he goat. Like, straight up. High and tight again. There's the rest of the harem coming up over the hill. We see turkeys there every single time we go down there. There's a decent 8-point. Still a little young. Long skinny legs, no belly sag. Even smaller 8-point. Oh. Whoa. That's new. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, possibly? Yeah, looks like a 10-point. What do we got? There he is. There's Ivan. And you can't mistake that big old split brow. Man, he's going to make it really hard for me to pass on him. There's that 10. Wish I knew the date. That's Ivan again, actually. There's that other deer. He's not as big as I thought. Real short tines. Oh, go back. Kind of looks like he's got a flyer point coming off his right G2, though. Another little forky there, or 6 or something. Little 8-point. Little 4-point. More turkeys. More turkeys. That's a different buck, too. So he's got a split on his left brow. Start of a G4 on his left side. Still got that crooked G2 on his left. So probably the same genetics. Whoa. What the heck is going on here? Look at that funkiness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Man, I don't even know what that is. Looks like it comes straight out and down and then wraps back up. That's a weird looking one. Another little 8. That's that 7-point. There's that other 8 with that point coming in from his left G3. Little forky. And that's it. Quite that diversity of bucks down there, that's for sure. What's even weirder is the render that we had on the field had a completely different set of bucks. So I just thought this picture was cool, catching the big old hawk going out. So 729, when we were standing here, when we first hung this camera, we were on the edge of the field here and ranged that at, oh, what'd I say it was, like 22 yards or something like that, 20 yards. So almost right on the edge of the detection range of the camera. I mean, look how far out that is. So this one here is a render that we put up down there that we gotta go check and see what's going on. I think the batteries died in it. It's a nice 10-point. And then this one almost gave me a heart attack waking up in the morning. I saw this come through and I just saw that frame waiting for the HD to come in, and man, is he a nice buck. And then here he is again. Just a super wide, super big buck. Didn't have any of these other deer on the lift too. That's probably 500 yards up the field from this camera either. So, and that's it for the bean field. All right, and last but not least, the beaver pond set. So, before I go into this one here, just want to put a disclaimer out there. After looking back through all the videos and all the pictures, there was actually 2 sets of fishermen that went up through there. Looked like a guy and his son on the 16th. They came up, went fishing, came back down. And then on the 20th, there was another set, another father and son, a different father and son that went up in, came back down. And then 4 hours later, that's when the camera took its last picture. And then I don't know what happened there. The SD card got put in backwards. So I'm not accusing anyone. I don't know who did it. Could have been, either of these groups, or it could have been, someone else completely different. But like, why do you have to mess with someone's stuff on public? We had 6 cameras with this card pool. 2 of them got messed with. If you see someone else's stuff on public, just leave it alone. Big on integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one else is watching. Obviously, someone didn't have a lot of integrity. Kind of speaks volumes to the person they are there. We'll leave that rant as is, because I could go on. We'll at least go look through all these pictures here. A lot of the same bucks showed up. KD, the one that Jase named that had 5 on one side, 3 on the other, we did not see him on this card pool. I don't know where he's at. Hopefully he didn't get hit by a car. Hopefully he's just kind of hanging out somewhere else. So there's us setting it up. A little 8 point maybe. Kind of hard to tell. He's a little further out. There's another one of the 8s, it looks like. Actually, I think he's starting to turn into a 10. If you look, you can see some nubs out on his main beam where he might be forming some 4s there. Nice deer, though. There's the big 8. Whew. Man, July 11th. It's a pretty solid frame for July 11th. Just gonna sit there and show off. Solid buck, that's for sure. And just kind of hanging out. So with this set here, we always talk about the green up and making sure that you're clearing all the brush in front of your cameras. We had 1,500 picture video combos on this camera, and I'd say probably about 1,200 of them were of this. Jase and I must have missed this when we were pulling cards last. This branch or tree or whatever grew up and was literally just catching the edge of the frame there. And there was a boatload of false triggers in this from it. Nice little 8 point there. Can't tell what he is. Is that an 8 or is he starting to turn into a 10? No, he's turning into a 10. There's some 4s poking out. Another super solid deer there. Oh yeah. Good frame on him. So that's a different deer there. Might be that big 8. So this guy walks up here. So 734, 737, this comes through. He's running, so I can't tell. There's an 8 point. Little forky there. Doe. Doe. Another high and tight 8 point. Seems like that set of genetics there is pretty widespread down in that area. Oh, where's that 8 point again? Oh, actually that's the 10. Man, is he nice. No, of course. Must have been hauling down through there. High and tight 8. There's the big 10. There's his 4s poking out. There's a solid deer. Looks like the big 10 again. Can't tell. Yep. You can kind of see the start of his G4s there. Super solid deer. I'd shoot him all day. Ooh, there he is. There's that 8 point again. Just a solid Pope and Young class deer. he would catch an arrow for sure. This 8's brows almost look a little shorter. That might be a different deer there. There's... I think that's the 10, possibly. Yep, you can see brow, G2, G3, G4, main. Yeah, there's a good look there. You can see his G4 is poking out. Alright, so this is where it gets interesting. So 8/16, which I'm pretty sure that was a Saturday. No, that was a Tuesday. So this guy comes walking through, go fishing with his son. So son has short hair, he has short hair. He's got a one sling backpack, same with the son. 10:57, here they come back down. Must not have caught anything. Man, is that 8-point nice. Whew. Just a super solid, super clean, symmetrical 8-point there. Almost perfectly symmetrical, actually. Alright, so 8/20, which would be last Saturday. So there's this guy here. He's got longer hair, got a 2-strap backpack. His son's got a mullet with a 2-strap backpack. Different set of father and son going up through there, and that's at 11:45. Hour later, here they come back down. Kind of looks like the sun looks up and looks right at the camera here. And they keep going. So they walked through at 12:45. Here's the last picture at 3:54 on August 20th. No video attached to it, nothing else after this. So I'd assume that's when whoever did this shut the camera off, put the card in backwards, or popped the card out, stuck it back in there, and closed it up. So I'm not going to accuse anyone. It's public land, stuff happens, but it doesn't need to. Like, us as hunters, we're already under attack by so many different groups trying to take away what we love. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves? All right, guys, well, that wraps up the card pool here. A lot better than the previous one. It's August, you know, we're almost to September here. Cameron leaves next week for North Dakota's early opener. Bucks are still in velvet, but pretty soon here that shift's going to happen. The velvet's going to start coming off, and it's going to get into our favorite time of year. So we're going to keep up with this. We're probably going to do one more card pool with all 6 of these cameras. Jase and I might put out a couple others here within the next coming days on other spots we have marked that we haven't gotten to yet. And then we're going to do a card pool right before the September 24th opener for Ohio. Probably like that Saturday before the 17th, we're going to do a card pool. Kind of get all our ducks in a row, figure out what we have patterned, make a game plan, and we're probably going to throw a couple observation sits at whatever spot we're picking for opening day, just to kind of get a better idea of what's going on in that area. I myself, I'm leaning towards that travel corridor for that camera that we put up with all those nice 10 points with the split brow tines. It's all going to come down to what we find out that weekend before the opener. And then, you know, whatever spots we're hunting, just getting in there, figuring out access, figuring out if our wind's going to be right, hoping for some cooler weather. If it's hot, I'm not going to try for one of these bucks and try and, you know, screw it up. I'll probably just go sit somewhere and whack a doe to fill the freezer. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below of what your favorite buck was for this video.